The most mysterious hymn in the Vedas, exploring the Nasadiya Sukta. Imagine for a moment that you could travel backwards. Not hundreds of years, not thousands of years, further, past every civilization, past every language, past every mountain and ocean, past the earth itself, past the stars, past the galaxies. Keep going until you arrive at a very strange question. What existed before the universe? Not what existed before human beings. Not before the earth, before everything, before space, before time, before matter, before energy. What was there? Or perhaps an even stranger question. Could there even be a before time existed? Tonight, I want to explore one of the most fascinating and mysterious texts ever composed. A hymn written thousands of years ago. A hymn so profound that even today philosophers, scientists, mystics, and seekers continue to discuss it. The Nasadiya Sukta, the hymn of creation, found in the Rig Veda. And what makes this hymn remarkable is not that it gives answers. It is that it asks questions. Very dangerous questions. The kind of questions that make the mind uncomfortable. The kind of questions that reveal how little we truly know. Most people imagine ancient religious texts beginning with certainty. In the beginning, this happened. God created that. The universe came from this. The Nasadiya Sukta does something very different. It begins almost by taking away the ground beneath our feet. The first verse says, "There was neither existence nor non-existence." Pause for a moment. What does that even mean? Most of our thinking depends upon opposites. Light and darkness, life and death, existence and non-existence. But the seer is suggesting something extraordinary. Perhaps before creation emerged, even these categories did not exist. Imagine trying to describe a color that nobody has ever seen. Imagine trying to explain music to someone who has never heard a sound. Perhaps the state before creation is equally impossible to describe. Language itself begins to fail. And that is where the hymn begins. Not with certainty, but with mystery. The hymn continues. There was neither death nor immortality. Neither day nor night. No sky. No atmosphere. No world. Nothing that we would recognize. And yet, somehow, there was something. Or perhaps not a thing at all. Perhaps a possibility. A potential. A stillness beyond all opposites. Already the mind begins to protest. It wants clarity. It wants definitions. It wants answers. But the Nasadiya Sukta refuses to cooperate. Instead it invites us into wonder. Now here is where things become even more interesting. The hymn speaks of darkness. Darkness concealed within darkness. An image that sounds almost poetic. But perhaps it is pointing towards something deeper. When we enter a completely dark room, we cannot distinguish one object from another. Everything appears undifferentiated. Perhaps the seer is describing a state where no distinctions had yet emerged. No this, no that, no subject, no object, no observer, no observed, only an unfathomable mystery. Then comes one of the most extraordinary ideas in the entire hymn. A movement arises, a stirring, a first impulse. The Sanskrit word used is often translated as karma. Desire, but not desire in the ordinary sense. Not desire for food, not desire for money, not desire for recognition. Something much deeper. The first urge, the first movement, the first possibility of manifestation. The first ripple upon a perfectly still ocean. Think about that for a moment. The universe, according to this vision, does not begin with a machine. It begins with a movement. A mysterious urge toward expression, almost as though existence itself wished to reveal itself. Of course, we must be careful. The hymn does not fully explain what this means. And perhaps that is intentional. Some truths may be approached only through symbols, not through definitions. Now let's take a small detour. Modern science asks similar questions. What happened before the Big Bang? What existed before space-time? Can there even be a before, if time itself began with the universe? Scientists continue debating these questions. And what is fascinating is that the deeper we go, the stranger reality becomes. At some point, even mathematics begins encountering mystery. Notice something important. The Nasadiya Sukta is not science. And science is not the Nasadiya Sukta. But both meet at the edge of the unknown. Both eventually arrive at a place where certainty becomes difficult. And wonder becomes unavoidable. Perhaps that is why this hymn feels surprisingly modern. Not because it predicts science, but because it shares a spirit of inquiry. A willingness to ask difficult questions. A willingness to admit uncertainty. Now we arrive at the final verses. And this is where the hymn becomes truly astonishing. The seer asks, who really knows how creation arose? Who can say with certainty? The gods themselves came after creation. So how could they know? Pause. Think about how radical that statement is. The hymn is questioning every easy answer, every assumption, every premature certainty. And then comes one of the greatest endings in world literature. The seer says that perhaps the one who oversees creation knows. Or perhaps, even he does not know. Imagine the humility hidden in those words. Thousands of years ago, no telescopes, no satellites, no particle accelerators, yet an ancient sage was willing to stand before the mystery of existence and say, perhaps nobody fully knows. That is not ignorance. That is intellectual honesty. That is spiritual courage. Because real wisdom does not always consist in possessing answers. Sometimes wisdom consists in recognizing the magnitude of the question. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson of the Nasadiya Sukta. Not a theory of creation. Not a cosmological model, but an attitude. An attitude of wonder. An attitude of inquiry. An attitude of humility before the infinite. Today we live in a world overflowing with information. Everyone has opinions. Everyone has explanations. Everyone has certainty. Yet perhaps we need a little more wonder. A little more curiosity. A little more willingness to sit with mystery. The ancient seer looked into the abyss of existence and did not rush to fill it with easy answers. Instead, he asked. And perhaps that is where all genuine philosophy begins. Not with certainty, but with a question. A question so profound that it continues echoing across thousands of years. What existed before everything? And who, if anyone, truly knows? Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the Nasadiya Sukta. If you enjoyed this journey into one of the deepest mysteries of the Vedas, consider liking the video, sharing it with a fellow seeker, and subscribing to Vakratunda Vaani for more conversations on philosophy, spirituality, consciousness, and the timeless questions of human existence. Until next time, keep questioning, keep wondering, and never lose your sense of awe before the mystery of being.